Police say the weapons were allegedly stolen from a property in Ingham. Gunshots were then reported in this area. A doctor has spoken about the fractures that Matthew Riley Baxter suffered before his death in 2011. Nicholas Baxter arrived at the Supreme Court this morning, flanked by family and friends, for the first day of proceedings in the murder trial. The 37-year-old is accused of causing facial brain injuries to his son Matthew at his home in Burdell almost 6 years ago. More than 90 witnesses are expected to give evidence in the trial, which will resume in Townsville Supreme Court tomorrow. Shocked by news his son had suffered a gunshot wound, this father rushes to be with his boy in hospital. What's happening inside?
Don't know yet. They want them inside, so I've got to go to the hospital to see my son.
Neighbours say the street is normally quiet.
Every now and then you'll see a bunch of police cars there and that sort of thing. That's all we know, really.
A crime scene was set up after the man suffered the wounds to his foot. He was taken to Townsville Hospital in a stable condition. Fighting for life in hospital as his family clings to hope.
I saw my son laying on the ground and I thought he was dead.
Joel's family says he was working on this boat, getting it up to scratch ahead of a family fishing trip the next weekend. But when Joel was welding on it, it suddenly exploded and caused a ferocious fire.
Oh, lovely old lady. She was. She just kept to herself.
It has been reported the driver of the truck did not see the 90-year-old before she was struck and suffered the critical injuries.
But I love her. I really love you, Mum. I'm sorry you're not here. I just wish she could come back.
And the Australian Workers' Union was keen to see him again.
Clive was interested in talking about, how none of this was his fault, that, there were other forces at play.
Mr Palmer came here to the Yabulu refinery for the surprise half-an-hour meeting this morning. The Workers' Union claims Mr Palmer told them he's willing to meet with sacked workers sometime down the track. It took just over an hour for the blaze to cause this much damage. Windows shattered, walls burnt out, green grass now black. The evidence was clear.
I just saw through the window there's a lot of fire in my neighborhood, and then so there's a lot of bangs through.
Detectives spent most of yesterday inside the burnt-out home trying to determine just how the inferno started.
Well, we're now finished with the scene and the investigation is continuing.
The aim is to see who is the sharpest shot.
It includes 9 teams and people from 5 nations.
And even though it's just for bragging rights, the teams here say they're fired up.
Have a look at the amount of water that they've used and decide if they do want to change from one plant to the other.
But you'll have to contact council quick if you want to make the change. You can only switch between billing options from today until August 27, and if you don't do so by then, you'll be stuck with your existing tariff. Some of the students that have come through these gates come from the toughest of backgrounds.
I was doing ice, XC, dope, every day.
More than 200 students have come here to the training centre over the 3 years, and the Toombys fear they may have to close up by the end of the month.
It's very hard to regulate the industry because every industry has the good and bad.
These backpackers have to do 88 days worth of labour here on Gary's veggie farm in order to get their second-year visa, and they all say they feel safe under the current system that's in place. We're known for being a garrison city, but guns of a different kind were on show. Flaunting their pride and joy and striking a pose on the big stage. They love our beautiful weather, but from tonight they won't be calling North Queensland home anymore. 707 animals, just like chives over here, were transferred from the centre here at Bowley to others across Queensland just last year. But we can all play a role to make sure canines like chives have a home to go to. An army veteran who never imagined representing his country like this.
I've walked away from these games knowing that
I gave everything that I possibly could.
And even though the Aussies didn't fare too well in the wheelchair basketball, there was one very important scalp.
The Kiwis, and we were, it was a pretty intense and fierce game.
The pair allegedly rammed a patrol vehicle twice, and 2 police officers were almost run over during the pursuit. The Holden Commodore eventually came to a halt at a cane field where the pair was arrested. Police say firearms and ammunition were found inside the allegedly stolen vehicle. The men have been slapped with almost a dozen charges, including serious assault and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. The 53-year-old is due to return to court tomorrow. The 24-year-old is expected to appear later this month. Moldoveanu, Win News.